And as a new patron, here we are in Lincoln College Chapel in Oxford. I'm taking this chance to talk to Steve Sanderson to find out more about this important work that's happening on the ground. And Steve, first of all, tell us, what is it about the work that so captivates you? What motivates you day by day to support MAI?
Oh, well, thank you, Noel, and also just to say thank you very much too for your willingness to become the first patron of MAI. And of course, MAI is a movement of volunteers. You don't have to be a medic to be involved in MAI. We're a group of people, largely volunteers, who are just really interested in trying to ensure that there is affordable, quality healthcare in many of the world's most fragile places, some of which you discussed a second ago. And I'd love to kind of say a little bit about some of those places and the work that MAI does. So, for example, Chad. Chad's very close to my heart. It's a place that most people know nothing.
There it is, right in the centre of Africa.
There it is, right in the centre of Africa. 2/3 Sahara, 1/3 inhabited, but right at the bottom of all of these metrics of poverty. A place where 1 in 15 women will die during childbirth, where 1 in 10 children will not make it out of childhood. The country itself, the state, struggles to afford healthcare facilities. And so really it's incumbent upon those that are moved out of, in our case, out of Christian conviction, to try to provide some level of hope and dignity in that place. And so we work with a hospital, Guinea-Bourg 2 Hospital, which provides obs and gynae services, orthopedic services, some community health services, but also does this really innovative piece of work that MAI are involved in helping and supporting around children living with disabilities, physiotherapy. It's the only one of its kind in the country.
And I imagine there's not a huge infrastructure that supports medical institutions in Chad.
Yeah, very poor infrastructure. So there's a figure which I like to talk about, which is in the UK, we have 1 doctor for every 470 people. And that's even quite a low ratio compared to Western Europe. In Chad, it's 1 doctor for every 25,000 people. And so as you go through your life in Chad and you get ill or have injury, your chances of receiving quality medical care is actually quite slim. And so really what MAI are involved in supporting is the kind of services that allow people to gain quality healthcare at an affordable price.
And then of course across from Chad in South Sudan, that's another place where you're focused.
Yeah, absolutely. So very often people will say, okay, Medic Assistance International, you're a big organisation, you're a big charity. What do you bring to this? And so sometimes when you work within these fragile environments like Chad and like South Sudan, there is a need to be agile. And so as many people know with South Sudan, they're quite a new country. Only 2011 did they form. And most of that first decade of the existence of South Sudan was taken up with really kind of bloody intertribal conflict, disputes over land and access to water and oil. And so really the state struggled to provide any infrastructure at all, let alone health services. For MAI, we've been involved with a place called Martha Public Health Centre. It's in the town of Yei, which is thankfully a place that's not been as affected by the violence. It serves around 20,000 people a year with basic services, vaccinations, HIV testing. MAI's particular involvement has been around mobile eye clinic care, and that's been great. But we also know in this year ahead, people in South Sudan face a real challenge. Because actually a lot of South Sudanese people are living as refugees in the DR Congo, northern Uganda. There's a lot of push factors at present for them to return back to where they came from. But of course, a lot of the health services have been devastated by the war.
So there's not great motivation sometimes for them to go back home.
There's not great motivation, and yet you want to try to incentivize that. And so there is a clinic, a place called Kajukeji, just north of the Uganda border, where in 2017 MAI helped to fund the building of a clinic in a place called Ramogi. And so what we'd love to do is to provide the facilities to re-equip that particular clinic so that people can return to Kajukeji, can receive those basic services that they need.
Am I picking up that one of the advantages of MAI at the moment being a fairly small charity is that you have flexibility. You have these 4 areas. I know where you're specialising at the moment. But you can more quickly mobilise different resources and go into areas quickly.
So we can certainly mobilise the capability of people that can help. We can certainly get alongside these partner organisations and start to plan for those kind of responses. Of course, as ever, raising funds to do it inevitably becomes the challenge. And so the amount of money that MAI can raise in a year is way short of the need that sits there. And so we're forever trying to give, trying to mobilise people to give, trying to share this vision of affordable, quality healthcare wherever we go.
The more people give, the more you can do.
Absolutely, and the more people receive that healthcare, and hopefully live resilient and full lives.
Now, we've mentioned already Chad, we've mentioned South Sudan. Now, what's going on in India?
Yeah, so India surprises people.
Okay.
It's a place which is a powerhouse of public health, and we know within the NHS we rely very heavily upon really brilliant clinicians that are coming from India. Yes. And so it might give the impression that there are no medical problems in India. But of course, 1.4 billion people, the largest country in the world now, and of course there are gaps within it. So for MAI, we always want to be found in those places that are overlooked. And there's a particular district in India next to a much wealthier place. Within that district, there are people that are migrant workers who have come. They live in a very semi-permanent state and suffer from all sorts of medical ailments. So we work with a place called Chinchapada Christian Hospital. It's about 60 beds. It has a high dependency unit. It has an intensive care unit. But the intensive care unit is small. It's kind of woefully inadequate. And really it's a big push for MAI to try to raise the funds to build a much bigger ICU. In addition, in Chinchapada, we have also worked with palliative care and some other kind of community health projects as well. But our big push at present is to provide a high quality ICU unit. You
are bringing hope and healing to disadvantaged people, and that is one of the great, I think, hallmarks of MAI. So we've talked about Chad, South Sudan, we've talked about India. Now let's move again to the African continent. You've had quite a long established partnership with South Africa, I think 12 or more years.
Yes, so MAI isn't just an organisation that delivers projects. It's an organisation which is really a movement of people who walk alongside communities, often for a long time. And where this project in Embo, which is in KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa, arose from, was really a vision that a local pastor had to respond to the community that he was part of. South Africa, a lot of Southern Africa was badly hit by the AIDS pandemic. Yes. Still today in this community of Embo, I think it's more than a quarter of the population live with HIV. And so for this pastor, Pastor Leonard, his vision was to provide medical care for that community. So alongside MAI, they established the Embo Primary Healthcare Centre. It's very functional, it has staff, it has a sustainable support from lots of places. And so MAI's journey at this stage is really to engage much more with the community, particularly those that are living with HIV. And so we support various caregivers who can help support those living with HIV around areas of nutrition and medication. Now during the pandemic, of course, the COVID pandemic, these are immunocompromised people. It's a community that was hit very hard again, and so we absolutely were able to stand there and say, MAI are still here.
And are these people who live in a sort of stable living environment? Is it ongoing medical education and care? Or do they live in some shanty towns? Or is there a medical problem that needs to be very seriously addressed still at the moment?
Yes, so it's a very low resource community. Yes. And so therefore that there is still that need for assistance that's there. And a little bit akin to India, where you have these great extremes of wealth and of poverty. And so it's always the places that other people overlooked that MAI are interested in.